So I'm about to take off here on my ascent up Diamond Peak, which we're looking at right there. That is the peak. I came up this morning from Idaho Falls, which is out that direction, and had a nice drive in. I was up at 3:30 this morning. Got on the road about 4:30 from the house. Stopped for some gas. Got on the freeway around 5. So I wanted to be hiking by 5. I was a little further out. It's 7:30 now. I'm about to begin the ascent, but I was able to make it pretty far up this access road. So the actual ascent is pretty short. Of all of the Idaho 12ers, I think it's probably the shortest actual ascent. If you can make it this far up the access road, which I was able to because I borrowed my father-in-law's 4-wheel drive truck, and we should be good. I just tried to connect to the ham radio repeater. Wasn't able to get on quite yet. Either I'm not hitting it because it's on the other side of the mountain, or it's early and nobody's listening right now. So either way, I'll kind of test that on my way up and down. Hopefully I can make some contact on there at some point on this hike, or at least hear some folks. I was thinking I would hear it right here. I can hear people on that repeater from Idaho Falls, so I should be able to at least pick stuff up. Anyway, I'm gonna head on up. I can't tell you how good it feels to be up here. I mean, this is like, I don't know, part of my soul lives in the mountains in Idaho, and it feels so good to be here. It is profoundly silent right now. There's not an ounce of wind. I mean, I can't hear anything. It is so silent, so beautiful. A little hazy from all the fires that are going on right now. All right, so just gonna give you a little update view where I'm at right now. I've only been hiking for about 15 minutes, but I wanted to talk a little bit about getting in to this place. So I'll give you the view down below in the valley. My truck is parked right down there. So basically coming in, I came in from Idaho Falls, went up to Terraton Mud Lake, and then headed north on Highway 28. From there, I took Pass Creek Road, so I want to say I went about 30 miles or so, 35 miles maybe, up Highway 28. You'll find Pass Creek Road, and then I headed west on Pass Creek Road. Basically, I read several different descriptions on how to get to where I'm at now, and they were all a little bit different. So basically, once I took Pass Creek Road, I went for about my odometer read 3.6 miles, and you'll come to a little spot where there's like some cattle corrals and a gate. You can keep going straight on Pass Creek Road, but you're gonna dead end about a mile up the road, and the road's gonna be closed to motorized traffic. It's basically an ATV trail from there on out. But right there at that corral, you'll notice there's a gate to the right, to the north, and if you take that, you'll get onto this Forest Service Road 796. If you can get your hands on a Forest Service map for the area, I actually found one at the end of Pass Creek Road. I went all the way up to the end where it dead ends, like I said, and there were some maps on the information board. Anyways, but Forest Service Road 796, I just followed that the rest of the way up, and that basically stops where my truck is parked is the end. There's a little sign that says end of route, and it looks like the road keeps going, but it's much more rough. It looks like it's only been ATVs or dirt bikes or whatever on this road, and that's basically what I'm following now. So that's going to continue to follow up. It's hard to see on the video here, I suppose, but it's going to kind of go up here, up to about the tree line, and then it's going to kind of cut under the tree line. At that point, it's just a single foot trail under the tree line over to here, and we're going to take the East Ridge up right here to about that point, and then up to the summit. So that's kind of the plan. If you're hiking Diamond Peak, that's kind of the route that you're looking for there. But yeah, I mean, for me, it was super easy off of Highway 28. I just grabbed Pass Creek Road. Like I said, I took it for, my odometer read 3.6 miles. That's where I found the cattle corral and the gate to get onto Forest Service Road 796. And I followed that road all the way to the end. And, you know, I would definitely recommend a higher clearance vehicle. Four-wheel drive might be helpful. I honestly, I don't know if I even needed four-wheel drive. I kicked it in right at the end because there was kind of one little steep stretch, and the road wasn't terrible. I probably could have done it in a, you know, small SUV or something with not quite as high a clearance as this big truck that I drove in. But something with a little bit higher clearance, because it gets a little bit rocky in spots. Not the worst road I've been on in these mountains, I will tell you that. But yeah, so now I'm gonna climb. I am definitely not used to the altitude. I've been living in Belgium for the past 3 years, basically at sea level. And before that, I was in Oklahoma, not much higher than that. And yeah, I don't spend as much time in these high altitudes as I would like, so it didn't take long to get my heart rate going. Anyways, we'll keep checking in along the way. Still absolutely beautiful. It's about 5 minutes to 8 a.m. and we're just walking. Okay, so I've been hiking for about another 5 minutes, which is not that long, but I'm at the end of the ATV trail, essentially. So I'd kind of mentioned that the road, that Forest Service Road 796 ended. That's where I parked and started heading on up. And you get a little ways up from where I was before. I think from the truck, you're looking at, it was about a total of maybe 20 minutes of hiking. And I get to the end of what I would call the ATV trail. There's actually a little rock cairn right here, kind of signifying this is the beginning of, it's real hard to see in the video, but there actually is a little foot trail. It's definitely, at this point, is foot trail. I suppose if you had an ATV, side-by-side or four-wheeler or something like that, dirt bike, you could probably make it pretty easily to this point on a vehicle like that. I didn't feel comfortable coming any further in the truck. But, you know, that's kind of, that would be kind of on you, on what you have available to you and what you feel comfortable with. But from here on out, it's definitely foot trail. I think this trail is basically going to wrap us up kind of to the northwest, get us to that East Ridge, and we'll go from there. So about 5 to 7 more minutes of hiking and I've reached the wood line. So I'd kind of pointed that out before, and it's right here. This is kind of what it looks like from here. I can actually see my truck again. I lost sight of it, but it's like right there, and lost sight of it for a little bit, but I can see it again. As soon as you get toward this wood line, the foot trail gets a little light. It's still there, but there are a couple little rock cairns up here to kind of keep you on the trail. So I'm just going to keep on following and see how it takes me. All right, it's been a good day so far. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's been about 30 minutes since I last checked in. I've been on the trail for just over an hour, and at this point I'm basically at the bottom section. Where I'm standing is basically the bottom section of the East Ridge. You can see right up here, that is kind of the upper section of the East Ridge. Bit of a scramble up to there. That's kind of my next check-in point. But I just kind of wanted to fill you in on this section. So up to this point, we had hit the bottom of that tree line, and from there to here, the path is very clear. I was worried it was going to kind of get a little bit washed out, but no, it was clear. It was nice. It kind of skirts up through the bottom of that tree line, and you're kind of coming in and out of the tree line. I guess something to just be aware of when you hike this trail is that this is not a heavily trafficked trail. I have not seen a single other human since embarking on this journey this morning. And so that being said, I think you just need to be aware you're a little more likely to bump into some wildlife in areas like this. If you're with a group, that's great. Make a lot of noise when you're walking on the trail, talking a lot. That helps keep the wildlife away. If you're hiking by yourself like me, it's also a good idea to do the same. If you have a Bluetooth speaker or something, you want to play some music as you walk through these kind of sections. As you walk through the trees, it's just kind of a prime area to bump into something like a mountain lion or a bear, or I don't know, maybe even a wolf. I know that those are more of a thing a little further north. I don't know how prevalent they are this far south in the Lemhi range, but yeah, just be aware of that. You don't want to be sneaking up on stuff. So as you're walking through these trees, don't be afraid to make noise. You can, as I was walking, I was kind of clapping from time to time, just making sure that any critters along this trail knew that I was here and that they kind of got out of the way for me. Also, I have my bear spray on the ready, so that's also a good idea if you're hiking up in this area. It's not good just for bears, mountain lions, bobcats, wolves, whatever you might run into. It's not a bad idea to have that stuff. So, all right, I'm gonna check in again when I get to the upper section of this East Ridge, so let you know how this little scramble goes. All right, so we're 2 hours in, and we are on the upper section of the East Ridge. So looking down at the valley, my truck is like way down here. There's no way you're gonna see it on the video. I can barely see it with my eyes. And yeah, we came up through that whole wooded section, and we had that initial scramble up to this upper section of the East Ridge. So now this camera view is looking east from the ridge, and as I pan over here, This is looking directly up the ridge from where I'm at. So kind of our next point that we're shooting for is we're just gonna follow the ridge up to this kind of knoll right here. And then from there on out, it's basically just a bunch of bouldering up to the summit, which is right here. So yeah, that last little bit was definitely loose. After we got out of that, got off of that initial footpath, it was nice. I stopped for a little water break, ate a couple snacks, and then the trail quickly becomes very loose and kind of turns into your kind of class 3 scramble. The trail's pretty eroded at that point and splits into a lot of different areas, so it's kind of just find your best way up. And once you get on the ridge, the path becomes a little bit more established again. So yeah, as I came up, I like I said, it was pretty loose, nothing scary. Had to use my hands a few times just for some stability. Trekking poles would definitely be helpful on that section. I don't have any today because they're with all of my gear that is being shipped from Belgium to Virginia. And yeah, so anyways, if you have trekking poles, might not be bad for that section, and probably definitely on the way down they'll be helpful too. But here we go, we're just gonna follow the ridge line up. I will check in when we hit this knoll right up here before we begin our last scramble slash bouldering section all the way up to the summit. Talk to you soon. Okay, so I'm sitting on top of the knoll that I pointed out in my last stop. It took me about 20 minutes to get here, just kind of going up that east ridge. And now I'm actually just sitting down, gonna have some water, test out the radio again. But you have really beautiful views. So this is, oh, lots of these bugs, these little flying red ants, driving me nuts. But you have out to the north, get a really good view of the Lemhi range. You can get your first view of Bell Mountain right there. Can't really see, it's a little hazy, but it's right out there. And then as we pan over here looking east, out over the valley, super hazy due to all the fires. And then we're looking south, continuing on with the Lemhi range. And then we look to the west, and this is the peak. So this is like our last stretch here. We're just gonna do this scramble and boulder to the top. And this last stretch is a bit of a stretch. So probably check in a couple times along the way. Basically, you just want to stay right on the ridge line all the way up. If you get too far off, things can get a little hairy. So, but as you stay on the ridge, you should be able to stay in mostly class 3 climbing all the way up. So, should be a good time. All right, I'm gonna get some water and get moving against these bugs will leave me alone. Checking in again. It's coming along. We've been scrambling and bouldering up this ridge line, trying to work our way to the summit. You can see behind me. And yeah, it's going pretty well. So I want to show you something here as you're coming up the ridge line. So this is that knoll that I stopped on that we talked about, right? So this is kind of the upper section of that east ridge. Okay. And this is the knoll. And now we're still technically on the east ridge. That's just what I was calling the upper section. We're just moving up. Now, as you're coming, if you stay right on this ridge line, you'll notice that there's a lot of bouldery sections. And you have some options. I've pretty much been tackling the class 4 stuff and just kind of going over the boulders, except for in some cases. But I will say, in almost every case where I skirted around a boulder, I skirted on this side of the ridge. I have not ventured on this side at all. You'll find that over here is much steeper, a lot more cliffs and stuff, so just be aware of that. As you look down, you'll have a lot of areas like this where you have a lot of loose scree. If you're more comfortable with that than climbing the class 4 stuff, you can certainly skirt yourself around a lot of these boulders. You'll probably do a lot more kind of up and down if you're doing that, but it just kind of depends on what you're comfortable with. We'll see how I feel on the way down. On the way up, I have felt totally comfortable with all of the class 4 sections that I've climbed over to this point. Actually, it's been a really nice little interplay between class 3, class 4, nice little ridge line. So anyway, I'm hoping, I've been climbing for 3 hours now. I'm hoping to summit in an hour, be up there before lunch. So we'll check in here again soon. All right, so we're at the top. So that last stretch, man, I really like misjudged. I was pretty winded when I stopped last time, and I was like, oh, I was looking up, it looked a little more technical than it actually was. That very last little stretch was not bad at all. I was hoping to finish it in an hour. It took me about 20 minutes to finish that last stretch, so it was less technical than the stuff that I had previously been doing with some of that class 4 stuff. So yeah, we're at the top. It's looking great. Here it is. I'm just kind of, I've been walking around on the summit. I still haven't found the summit marker. If I find it, I'll show it to you on the video, but we got a nice little cairn up here. The summit register. Finally got my radio working. You can hear that going. I'll sign the register here in a minute. Cleaned some trash that someone had stuffed down in this cairn. Unfortunately, it's sardines, so I'm going to have to be carrying down a stinky can of sardines all the way down. But yeah, so if you're hiking, pack out your stuff, because otherwise someone else is going to have to carry it out for you. And I don't really feel like carrying sardines all the way down the mountain, but that's what's going to be happening today. Anyways, it's been a good time. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and we'll catch you next time.